you all will take your seats, I will call to order. You know, the principals are the ones that don't pay attention. I'm just kidding. Most of them are. Thank you all again so much for being here tonight. I'd like to call to order the September 26th school board meeting. We have a staff member. Unfortunately, we'd like to have a moment of silence this evening. Ms. Bird from Transportation, if you all will just listen to this wonderful writing about Ms. Bird, and then we'll have a moment of silence in her memory. Ms. Bird was born on January 6, 1961, to John and Hattie Bird. She was the mother of 4 wonderful daughters and 1 son. I'm assuming he was wonderful too. She was also a grandmother to 5 beautiful granddaughters. Ms. Bird was an important member of the Transportation family, but also spent much of her time helping her community. She was a member of Sweet Harmony No. 388 Order of the Eastern Star with several years of wonderful service. Ms. Bird was also the events coordinator for the Bokeh Riders Bike Club of Sanford, in which she played a major role in every activity. In addition, Ms. Bird was a proud member of the Morning Glory Missionary Baptist Church and served as lead usher. Ulitha Bird Campbell worked for Seminole County Public Schools Transportation Services from 1988 until 2017. She started as a school bus driver and was promoted to a dispatch position in 2004, where she made a huge impact on every life she touched and the entire transportation department. Our transportation family has truly felt the loss of our beloved Bird, as well as the entire Sanford community. If you all would please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you so much. Tonight, leading us in the invocation and pledge, we have a student from Lyman High School, and I'd like to invite the principal of Lyman, Mr. Mike Rice, to come and introduce his student, who will lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Good evening, and welcome, and thanks for inviting us out here tonight. Dr. Griffin, Board Chair Lockhart, and school board members, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you Kenna Barisi. Kenna is a senior at Lyman High School and has done some incredible work for us, most recently with the hurricanes and helping at the shelter. And if she could have, if her parents would have let her, she would have stayed all 3 days at the shelter, but they asked her to come home. So I'd like to introduce you tonight, someone who is a great, spirited student at Lyman High School, Kenna Barisi.
Hi. Like he said, my name is Kenna Barisi, and I just want to say that since I was little, I've been playing softball my whole life. It was my dad and I sport, and it was like what we bonded over. And so when I lost him in 7th grade from cancer, it was like it took a huge toll on me, and I decided, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to play a sport that he couldn't help me with. So I decided to quit, but when I did, I felt uncomfortable, and I felt like I lost like a huge part of me, and I couldn't get it back until I hit high school. When my freshman year in high school, I joined the softball team. And I started out really good, and I started out as the first baseman, catcher, and outfielder. And it brought me back to realize that I could take chances again and become the pieces that I wanted back. So I decided, because Lyman offered me the opportunities, I am now president of the Biology and Medicine Club. I am the treasurer of the Black American Culture Club. I am on the golf team this year, freshman, or starter. And I am the new catcher of the Lyman softball team. And so because Lyman has offered me these opportunities, I've taken as much advantage as I can, and I help with Irma, and I do everything that I can. I help after school with different clubs. And I just want to thank Dr. Walt Griffin and the school board, and especially Mr. Rice, for letting me take these opportunities to granted. So thank you. And if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenna. That was wonderful. I'm going to ask her a question about the shelter, but could I ask you a question? I'm going off script. So tell me about the shelter experience. In like 30 seconds, tell me about the shelter experience.
It was incredible. I loved working with all the people, and I escorted people to the cafeteria and everything, and I loved meeting everybody and hearing their stories and helping them, and the animals was insane. It was so much fun to like see them and see us all as a community and all of the administration helping. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
Awesome. Thank you for your help with that. And everyone else, we're going to be recognizing everyone, but I hope you'll be a part of that event. We
Absolutely.
couldn't have done that without students like you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so roll call this evening. Let the record reflect that all school board members are in attendance except for Mr. Bauer, Dr. Griffin, and Mrs. Beeman, and our clerk, Ms. Moramis, are all here. Tonight we have in attendance quite a few folks to be recognized. Carlos Crispin from UniServe and the president of NIPSCO from Seminole High School. Thank you for being here. Sue Carson, SEA Union President, thank you for being here. Maria Garrido, SICA President, thank you. Melissa Pugh from the Seminole County Council PTA, thank you for being here. Polly DeLucia, also from the Seminole County Council PTA. And Karen Mazzola, Seminole County Council PTA and Galileo School for Gifted PTA. Wow, 2 hats. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate you all being here to participate in our meeting. Do we have any agenda modifications, Dr. Griffin?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. There are 2. The first is the addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item. And the second one, I want to pull item 4H, which is on page 53 of your board book. And this is related to the Lyman trip. And we spoke with Mr. Rice. We're not canceling the trip. The trip already is approved. It's the contract that I'm pulling. I'm asking them to add trip cancellation insurance so I can bring the contract back in a future meeting.
Board members, do we have any items selected for clarifying questions? Mrs. Almond?
No modifications, thank you.
Mrs. Sanchez?
No modifications, thank you.
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, the only thing that I'll just pull for comment is 4G. That's our invitation to negotiate. All right. Can I have an approval for the agenda outline?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And we've got a lot of students and people here tonight we want to recognize, so.
School board members and superintendent, shortly after assuming the responsibility of school safety and security for the district, we began to seek government and private company grants to help fund some of our school safety and security initiatives. In July 2017, the school board of Seminole County was awarded $21,328 from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation to purchase 61 school response bags, which is one for each school, pictured there and also here. These are school response bags, medical trauma bags for each school. They are meant to handle large hemorrhage events where fire department and or law enforcement are not able to get to the victims. These are for lay persons in the school, teachers, et cetera, that they can control major bleeding. I hope to God we never use them, but we'll have them. At Firehouse Subs are only part of their story. A portion of each purchase in all U.S. Firehouse Subs locations goes to the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation to be used to provide life-saving equipment to first responders. Since the foundation started, it has granted over $25 million to provide equipment, training, and support to hometown heroes. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation and local franchise owners Mike and Suzanne Kelly for their gracious generosity and support of our Safe School initiative. If I could call.
Board members and guests, tonight we are proud to present before the board several of Seminole County's outstanding students. From the spring 2017 statewide assessments, Seminole had 589 students who achieved a perfect score on one or more statewide assessments. Of those 589 students, 49 received a perfect score on more than one assessment. These are students that we are going to honor tonight. As we announce each student, we ask that the parents and the current and prior principals who are here with us tonight also stand to be honored. Congratulations.
My name is Marion Cummings. I'm Executive Director for Elementary Schools, and I'd like to start off by introducing from Heathrow Elementary, Ruby Fang, perfect score, FSA, 4th grade ELA, and 4th grade math. Ruby? Heathrow Elementary, we'd like to recognize Anya Shukala, 3rd grade ELA and 3rd grade mathematics. From Lake Mary Elementary, we'd like to recognize Luther Davis, 3rd grade ELA, 3rd grade mathematics. And from Parton Elementary, Benjamin Frankson, 4th grade ELA, 5th grade mathematics. Congratulations to our elementary school students. And now I'd like to introduce Ms. Demetria Faison, Middle School Executive Director.
Of the 49 students being honored this evening, 24 currently in middle schools achieved a perfect score on more than one subject area in spring 2017. The middle school students being honored tonight are from Childs Middle School, Kevin Connell. From Childs Middle School, Charlotte Swinehart. From Childs Middle School, Mackenzie Thacker. From Indian Trails, Mason Dodds. From Indian Trails, Aiden McConnell. From Jackson Heights, Ayla Bratton. From Jackson Heights, Cassidy Dunn. From Jackson Heights, Zabir Mustafa. From Jackson Heights, Leah Swanson. From Markham Woods, Divya Verma. From Millennium Middle School, Rosa Mills. From Milwee, Logan Burns. From Rock Lake, Margaret Sampson. From Sanford, Zoe Chu. From Sanford, Adia Julati. From Sanford, James Hu. From Sanford, Shrujan Kodafala. From Sanford, Mulin Lee. From Sanford, Michelle Mu. From Sanford, Om Pathak. From Sanford, Priyanka Raghavan. From South Seminole, Gabriela Gangora Rosales. From Tuscaloosa, Anderson Taylor. And from Tuscaloosa, Rubina Torkza Kadeh. I would like to introduce the Executive Director of High Schools, Mr. Mike Gaudreau.
Good evening. Of the 49 students being honored here this evening, 21 currently in high school achieved a perfect score on more than one subject in the spring 2017 testing. The high school students being honored tonight are from Haggerty High School, Robert Buck. From Haggerty High School, Nicholas Kai. From Haggerty High School, Taylor Camillin. Also Haggerty High School, Ty Markman. From Haggerty High School, Margaret Taylor. From Lake Brantley High School, Luke Chase. From Lake Brantley High School, Fiona McIntosh. From Lake Howell High School, Lucas DeReamer. From Lake Mary High School, Haley Hauk. From Lyman High School, Samantha Noggle. From Lyman High School, Alejandro Puerto Alvarado. From Lyman High School, Thomas Robertson. From Oviedo High School, Ryan Gibbons. From Oviedo High School, Morgan Gunter. From Oviedo High School, Julia Hoffman. From Oviedo High School, Benjamin Robinson. From Seminole High School, Lydia Chung. From Seminole High School, Matthew Dong. From Seminole High School, Tadeo Landini. From Seminole High School, Braden Larson. And from Winter Springs High School, Priyal Rijal. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for all of our 2017 Perfect Score students. Dr. Griffin and Chairman Lockhart, board members, I'm also thrilled tonight that we are going to honor one of our outstanding coaches, girls soccer coach from Oviedo High School, Scott Wassenaar. Scott is a graduate, 1988 graduate of Oviedo High School and 1992 graduate of Wofford College. Coached at Oviedo High School 21 years, 13 years as the head girls coach. And I'm going to read some of his accolades. Surprising that Orlando City hasn't snatched him up. Overall record as a head coach, 208, 54, and 21. 6-time Seminole Athletic Conference Coach of the Year. 2011, 2016, 2017, Florida Dairy Farmer Coach of the Year. 2016 NSCAA State Coach of the Year. 2016 NFHS State Coach of the Year. 6 district titles, 7 regional titles, 7 Final Four appearances, and 4 state championships and 2 state runner-ups. And the reason he's here tonight is most recent 2017 Spectrum Sports Seminole County Coach of the Year. Also here tonight is his principal, Mr. Joe Tribus. And I have one more special recognition tonight as we announce our newest high school principal. Please help me welcome the principal of Crooms Academy of Information Technology, Dr. Brandon Henshaw. Dr. Henshaw is a product of Seminole County Public Schools, having attended Longwood Elementary School, Greenwood Lakes Middle School, and Lake Mary High School. He started his Seminole County teaching career at Haggerty High School as an English and debate teacher. He moved on and became Dean of Students at Milwee Middle School, and then Assistant Principal at Jackson Heights Middle School and Lyman High School. Brandon received his bachelor's degree from the Foundation Gator Nation, University of Florida in 2000. It hurt me to say that. And from there, he earned a master's and doctorate degree from the University of Central Florida. Family members here up in the front are his wife, Jennifer, and proud, Evan Sunray, his son, Colton, is also with him. Congratulations. Also, his former principal, Mr. Mike Rice, and I don't know if Sarah Manser Blythe is here also. There she is, former principal also. And Mary Williams, I know, former principal with Brandon. Do you have Brandon? You're a stand-in for Sam. That's close enough. And Mr. Carnes was your teacher. And I might as well say it, I was also his teacher. It's true. Congratulations, Dr. Hanshaw.
Wait, there's an instructional framework review. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he could stay with us.
Ready? All right, school board members and Dr. Griffin, good evening. Good evening. Here we go. So I want to start off just a little bit differently than we typically do with one of our Focus on Student Achievements. I really am just delivering work today that other people have done. And so I just want to recognize some of the people that have led the work. The instructional plans that we do in this district are written by teachers for teachers. So the people that I'm going to introduce you to are the teacher leaders that really facilitate the development of these, and the administrators that facilitate the development of these plans. So I'm just going to ask them to stand and wave. We've got Allie Hilliard, the coordinator of secondary reading and curriculum. Dr. Michelle Pisani, the coordinator of elementary reading and curriculum. Eileen Haney, K-12 social studies specialist. Pat Goldman, K-5 Title I ELA and reading specialist. And then Lauren Hamilton, 612 ELA specialist. Also happening in this building at this very moment would be, we have a teacher leadership cohort happening in training room 3. We have a math training happening in training room 4. And then at Millwee Middle School tonight, we have a science training that's happening. So those folks would have loved to have been here with us, but they are unfortunately otherwise occupied. So with that, I just want to take a quick opportunity to go through some of our instructional frameworks. We're going to go through these at a breakneck pace because there's so much information in all of these that we couldn't possibly cover everything that's included. So we'll be going through the language arts, math, science, and social studies, really just a very quick overview. Each of these instructional plans includes what you see here. So the teachers who use these instructional plans, and that is the key, the teachers who use these instructional plans. There's so much great information in here and to support teachers that might need some support with the standards. So the sequencing of standards lets teachers know what order things should be taught in a logical order. So if a standard builds on another standard, then you need to teach that building standard first before you can teach the supplemental standard. Pacing recommendations, assessment options. We have multiple assessment options. We work with all other departments, all other instructional departments on this initiative. So we work with the assessment and accountability team. We get to work with ESOL and world languages. We get to work with exceptional student support. And so this is not the instructional plan for your general education students. This is the instructional plan for all kids. Department of Teaching and Learning serves all children, not just those that run right down the middle. We also have multiple instructional resources, strategies, all of the learning goals and scales that I know you all see in classrooms. Model lessons. If a teacher is struggling with a particular section of content, there are model lessons that help them reach that content at the appropriate level of rigor. And then the FSA test item specifications where applicable. So as we go through this, whatever you see on the front of this screen right here, so we'll start with the literacy plans, and each time I'll just kind of go in as an example of a teacher. And so going into the literacy plans as an example elementary teacher, as soon as they click on that first page and they click on elementary, this is where they land. And so you can see it's very well laid out as far as they can get their overviews, they can see the learning goals and scales, standards and targets, and then in each quarter they have model lessons. Also up at the top, there are a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. So as I said before, this is not the instructional plan for one group of kids, it's for all kids. So you'll see supports for access points. And then also, we try to link as much as we can one instructional plan to another. So here's all of the social studies resources and lessons. And so if they click on that, they get directly to their social studies resources. If I were to click on, say, the second grade, second quarter, I would come up with a list of model lessons like you see on the right-hand side. These model lessons are written by teachers, as I said, for teachers, and they are aligned to particular groups of standards. Also along the left-hand side, you'll see these icons, and this one in particular, this second grade, has 2 social studies icons that indicate that there's social studies embedded in the instructional plan, also embedded within the language arts content. So it's not about I'm going to teach language arts and now I'm going to teach social studies. I'm teaching social studies content in my language arts block. We know that our teachers love to teach specific holidays, specific world events, months for recognition, and so quarter two, the lessons would get into November, and so you'll see there's a Native American text, there's a whole section on Thanksgiving, and so we do try to honor what teachers like to teach, and we want to be timely with the kids. Other icons that you might see along the left-hand side, aside from social studies, would be writing instruction, where that's embedded into the content, document-based questioning, and then also where assessment is embedded into the content. Along the right-hand side, you'll see some suggested pacing. So this lesson, this model lesson, when a teacher clicks on it, we recommend about 4 days. If you have a group of kids that already knows some of this content, then you may be able to get through this in 2. If you have a group of students that maybe are struggling with this part of content, then you might need 5 or 6. And in our pacing calendars, we build in flex days for our teachers to really address the needs of their students. So we talked a little bit about social studies in that language arts plan, so looking specifically at the social studies instructional plans. When a teacher clicks on social studies, and let's say I'm a middle school teacher, I get to my middle school instructional plans, and on the left-hand side, you'll see there's an overview. Every group of standards or every section of content includes the content topics, the learning goals and scales. You'll see all of those things that I talked about on the second slide, model lessons, formative assessments. So if I come over here to civics and I'm interested in the Constitution, then when I click on the Constitution, I'm going to have a pacing calendar. I'm going to have my goals and scales. I'm going to have model lessons. All of these things written for teachers, by teachers, so that we know that after a year of content, we'll revise this based on what teachers say. Hey, I taught this, and you said it was going to take 4 days, and everybody, we do a survey to all the teachers, and we say, what would you change? And they let us know if there are pacing issues. They let us know if there are content issues, if there's a particular section of a story or a text that we use that was really not interesting to the kids, and we address all of those things. Beyond social studies, our next is science, and I know you're maybe a little more familiar with science because we've been working on the comprehensive science for middle school, so we won't dive into middle school, we'll dive into some high school science content. And I picked chemistry. I was so good at chemistry, they let me take it twice, true story. And what you'll see along the top is a pacing calendar, an example of a pacing calendar. So this right here, the colors, like this color right here on the screen, corresponds to this color right here. And so that section of content would be taught in these 3 weeks. Again, there are flex days built in case a teacher needs a little more time or a little less time to teach a particular section of content. Once they get to their particular unit, they have all of their standards, their concepts, their key vocabulary, their model lessons. If it's an honors course, they have additional content because oftentimes the honors courses just have 1 or 2 extra standards that have to be addressed, and so we try to make sure that the teachers have that content as well. Through all of our instructional frameworks, our Marzano frameworks, you're probably quite familiar with learning goals and scales, but here's an example on the front of a scale. We know a 3 is always what we expect from our students, and then if they reach that 3 and we still have a group of students that we're trying to catch up, then we can move them beyond that content and move them to the level 4 and push them to more complex and more real-world application. The math I'm going to highlight just a little bit differently because we've done some different work with math, but you can see right here on the front of the math framework, A teacher who's perhaps an elementary teacher goes to all of these content areas. So they've got all of these pages and they all look a little bit different. And we've asked teachers, what do you think about them looking different? And they're all quite complimentary of that because it lets them know which one they're in. If they all looked alike, they might get a little lost, and so they can have all of these open at once and know very clearly which one they're in. But from the front of the math framework, they can get directly to their literacy course, they can get directly to their science, their math, their social studies, their exceptional student support, or their ESOL world languages. So all of those things are accessible from each of the other courses. In math, we'll look at a middle school example again. So once the teacher clicked on this math framework and they clicked on instructional plans, they would come to middle school, and middle school over here. So they click on middle school here, and then this is what would open up on the right-hand side. The sixth, 7th, and 8th grade content, I don't know if you can read it on your screens, but it says tiered assignments on the right-hand side. And what that means is if a teacher does a formative assessment at the beginning of the unit and they figure out where their students are, so they know which ones are at a level, not even a level 1, maybe which ones are below a level 1 on the scale, 1, 2, 3, then those tiered assignments let them know where to start with the kid based on where they start with the content. And so that helps the teachers to differentiate in math, which is sometimes challenging for our students. And then, of course, we've got our Math Festival resources on there because we like to keep things easily accessible for teachers. A little bit different in math, and this is the work of Diana Barnett and a few other folks that worked on this previously, but we had some interest in what standards or what clusters of standards lead our students to success in Algebra 1. And so we're going to zoom in on this in just a moment, but if you look along the left-hand side, the kindergarten clusters, so for example, this one right here says it's basically understanding addition up to 20. So if a student can't do that in kindergarten, then it's going to impact, where's my mouse? It's going to impact these 4 standards in first grade. And so if a first grade student is struggling with any one of those standards, then we know we probably need to go back to some of that kindergarten content. Let me zoom in on one here, for example. So you can see represent and solve problems involving addition and subtraction within 20. Well, in first grade, if a student doesn't master that, they're certainly not going to be able to do that up to 100 in second grade. And then by the time they get to third grade, are they going to be able to identify those patterns that exist when you add and subtract that lead to an understanding of multiplication and division? And then in fourth grade, are they going to be able to proficiently and fluently use all 4 operations interchangeably in order to solve problems? So this is something that we looked at as we were trying to figure out how do we get students to proficiency and ready for Algebra 1 by 8th grade. So that's like I said, a very quick overview of what's in those frameworks. You could spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours just diving through, but we wanted to at least provide an overview of what's in every instructional plan that a teacher can access and in my opinion, should access in order to help our students meet the standards.
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that each year you go back out to the teachers and ask, what should we change? What input do you have? Is that to all teachers, or is that to the teacher leads in each of the campuses?
It's actually, they typically do it as teacher leads, but they usually meet as a PLC. So we send it to each of the, say, for example, we send it to all of the 4th grade team leaders, and they then do that survey with their entire team, and then they send that data back to us so that we know what needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
It looks awesome. One question I have is, in elementary for social studies, have they been trained to utilize the social studies curriculum? I know you have such an amazing layout and unbelievable resources for it.
Yes,
I'm just praying that they're doing
there were many Power View sessions that were addressing the content specifically that was in the language arts, as well as some of the social studies content, and then we have some trainings coming up. I forget, what's the date, Eileen? October 5th for some of the social studies, where we're rolling out some of the 3rd grade resources that this board has supported, and so we're really excited about that. But we have been to, and coincidentally, Dr. Pisani, the coordinator of elementary, had a play date with her own child whose parent was a teacher, and said, I just wanted to thank you so much for all of the social studies resources that are now
that's
out
awesome
there.
news.
So word is getting out. We know with anything, there's sometimes a lagging minority that doesn't always have all of the same information, but we're working to get that information to everyone.
Fabulous, thank you.
Of course.
I have a question about the algebra mapping.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been able to work it backwards as well? Can you look at the students who are not successful in algebra in 8th grade and track it back and figure out where things went wrong?
Yes, it's the arrows really go both ways. So if, let me go back to it here. So if
I'm asking for a friend.
In high school. All right.
So if a student is not successful on, say, this 8th grade standard right here, and it says, I can't read that. I'm kidding myself if I believe that. Define, evaluate, and compare fractions. If a student cannot do that, it's likely a result of this skill. If this skill right here, which is solve real life and mathematical problems using numerical and algebraic expressions and equations, if the student also struggles with that, then perhaps it's this standard above that feeds that standard. So yes, we can track back to see what a student's potential deficits might be.
And is that something that we would typically do with each student, or is that something that someone needs to initiate that? What's the process?
So this is embedded in the instructional plan, and then that's what those tiered assignments are for. Math is a little bit different because it does build like this year after year after year, where you have to know 3rd grade math before you can do 4th grade math, whereas in reading you might have some deficits, but you can still read. Maybe you have a vocabulary deficit, but you can still read. So in math, the tiered assignments are designed to get at that. So if, for example, a student is at a level 1 when we do our initial assessment, then we look back at some of those prior skills, and that's where the lesson begins, trying to figure out what it is that the students don't have in order to help them get to where they need to be.
I appreciate it. Anybody else? Thank you
Thank you
very
so much.
much. Okay. I pulled 4G because we need to appoint someone to serve on the invitation to negotiate, and I wanted to throw it out there. I think Ms. Moramis had already sort of circulated an email to check everyone's interest, and Dr. Calderon, I believe you responded that you would be interested in doing that.
Sure.
Are you still good to go?
Sure.
All right. Well, then we'll have Dr. Calderon serve in that role.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just need a motion then to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Have no student discipline? The only person I have for public comment this evening is Sue Carson. Sue, if you would like to make your way up front. All right, Ms. Carson, if you would, just state who you're representing, and you know the drill.
Okay. My name is Sue Carson, and I am representing all 4 presidents for our local unions. And good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address the board. As the 4 presidents of our local union, we would like to thank the board and the superintendent for their continued support and compassion for our employees with the recommendation for the new calendar. Hurricane Irma has caused and continues to cause our employees and their families many hardships. This recommended action demonstrates your sincere support for employees and their families as they recover from this event. Thank you again, board members, for your support. Seminole Uniserve looks forward to continued collaboration with the district as we face challenges in the future. I would also like to take a moment to personally thank Abby Sanchez for coming out to our community event and Dr. Griffin for donating $100 to our community event of feeding 600 families that had no power during Hurricane Irma. Thank you very much.
so much. Dr. Griffin, do we have any unfinished business or new business?
We have new business. My recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve the charter school application submitted on behalf of the Galileo School Foundation.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Oh, would you like to say something? We were just ready to move on.
Well, I thought I was supposed to.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. So board members, I'd like to just briefly review for you the charter application process that we went through this past several months. In April, the school board received a draft application from Galileo School for Gifted Learning, and the review team considered the draft application, and feedback was provided prior to July 1, 2017. That review team included almost all of our instructional team members, including the Deputy Superintendent for Instructional Excellence and Equity, the Executive Directors of Elementary and Secondary Schools, the Executive Director of Finance, the Executive Director of Operations, the Executive Director of Exceptional Student Support Services, the Executive Director of Human Resources and Professional Standards, the Director of Government and Employee Relations, Director of Teaching and Learning, Director of Research and Accountability, the Director of Staffing and State Reporting, the Director of ESOL World Languages, the Director of Choices and Student Assignment, and the Director of Food Services. So that's our review team. After July 1, the school board received a high-performing replication charter application from Galileo School for Gifted Learning on July 30th. And at that point, the application process began again with another review by our team. The team members reviewed the application guided by the evaluation instrument that's required by the Department of Education. On August 31, the school board held a work session with the charter applicant. And after the work session, the review team further considered the application and provided information to the superintendent. Based on this comprehensive review, the superintendent developed his recommendation to the board. The proposed school, Galileo School for Gifted Learning, is a replication of the high-performing Galileo School for Gifted Learning in Sanford, Florida. The application includes the verification letter from the Commissioner of Education, which states that the applicant is a high-performing charter school. The application met the standards in all areas of the application. Florida statute requires that an application submitted by a high-performing charter school may be denied by the sponsor only if the sponsor demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the proposed charter school does not materially comply with the delineated reasons outlined in statute. This concludes the summary of the evaluation of the high-performing replication charter application submitted by Galileo School for Gifted Learning.
Thank you so much. And,
Welcome.
and I'll ask any representatives from Galileo if you have any comments that you'd like to share with the board. You're more than welcome to. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. So under discussion, Mrs. Almond.
I would like to compliment the team at Galileo for the thorough application. It really did a fine job on that and on your presentation. Thank you.
Other questions or comments, board members?
I agree, it was wonderful and fabulous school. Thank you.
And I apologize, Dr. Dellinger. I think because our board is so involved in the process with the work session, we've already mulled over your application quite a bit. And so we're very familiar with what you were presenting to us. I had an opportunity this weekend to talk to a couple of different members of the community, and there's still a lot of confusion about, well, so was a charter school a public school or a private school, or is it a hybrid, or what is it, and what's the difference between all these different schools? And sometimes it seems like public schools don't like charter schools, but it doesn't seem like you all have a problem with charter schools. And so there's still a lot of confusion in the community about really what makes a good charter school. And I was very confident in sharing with them that I felt in Seminole County that we were very blessed to have great relationships with what I call our homegrown charter schools. Those of you that live here in this community, that serve our students, that serve on your board, that really want what's best for our kids. And I think that message is what this board wants more than anything, to continue to share with people that want to start a charter school in Seminole County, that they can look to you as a good model for how to do it right. All right, so motion and a second. Can I call for the vote, or do you have another comment?
No.
Oh, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Superintendent's report. We do you have something?
I'm going to have Kelly show.
We do have, tonight, the superintendent's evaluation is being presented. All of us individually did separate evaluations for the superintendent. Each one of us ranked him either on a scale of 4, 3.95 to a 4 in every category. We appreciate you and the job that you do. And of course, the comments that the board members shared have already been shared with Dr. Griffin, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Hey,
All right.
Ms. Thompson? I've asked Kelly Thompson to share with us. I sent them out, I think yesterday or the day before, where we are with I think we're going to call them snapshots. Is that what it is, Kelly? Is that what we're thinking
Yes,
of?
sir. They're rebranded as snapshots.
Yep.
We just wanted to provide you an update on the project that we started last spring to kind of redesign and revision what we've been doing for school report cards. And we started with high school, and it was the board and Dr. Griffin's, it was your desire for us to define ourselves in our school beyond the limitations of state accountability and state testing. And so our new report, the snapshot report, which you've seen a copy of, is our first completed project with that. So you'll notice that the report contains student assessment data, but it's nationally recognized assessment data. Each school's AP scores, PSAT scores, as well as along with comparative data, and SAT scores are showcased on the report. The report also includes college acceleration information, workforce readiness in the form of the industry certifications that are available at each school, graduation rate, along with the number of Bright Futures recipients from the prior year graduation class, and the scholarship dollars earned are present on the report, as well as on the back side is Dr. Calderon, I'm sorry, I have a question. Oh, sorry. On the back side of the report, there are some bulleted statements that the principals had the opportunity to contribute to that really kind of showcase what's unique at each school. It includes the special programs, the arts, the athletics, some of those nationally recognized things like U.S. News and World Report and Washington Post and other honors that the schools have earned. But I think the thing that is most unique about the report is the student and parent perception data that is included. Last spring, we partnered with local data analytics firm Datanautics, and we sent out some information, a survey to our students and parents. We asked them how likely they would be to recommend their school to their peers, to other students, to other parents, and then they had the opportunity to tell us why. And so Datanautics used the artificial intelligence applications that they have to sort through those comments and kind of sift through what stood out repeatedly as made each school positively unique in the eyes of the students and parents, and also selected quotes that the subject of those quotes appeared quite often within the report, so that way parents and community members and students that are looking at those reports can see it through the eyes of people in the community and not just see numbers on a page. So we think that really helps the report to showcase what's unique with our schools. So our principals have been involved in the process, and they've gone through and looked at it a couple times. They'll take their last pass through the report the week of October the 2nd in a meeting with Mr. Godrow, and then the following week of October the 9th, the principals will roll out the reports, and they'll utilize some of the communication support from Michael Lawrence's team, school messenger, social media, and all the other capabilities they have with that to push that report out to their school and to their community. And the project team that's worked on this has been a great partnership from IS, Felipe Bruder and Heather Medvey worked on this project. From Michael's team, Michael Lawrence's team, Maria Ithakar and Ashley Marat, and from our team, Sarah Borowski, who is our A&A facilitator, and of course Neil and Sanjay Patel. They come up here almost once a week and meet with us and kind of work through it. The team has started developing a prototype for elementary and middle. And so we'll be working through with instructional leaders from elementary and middle, and should have that available in the fall of 18-19. So our process should be complete by then. So we're excited about the changes and being able to meet that vision that you requested. Questions?
A huge undertaking. And I understand Dr. Griffin had an opportunity to write a letter to DOE recently about their report card.
Yeah, at a recent DOE meeting, they rolled out the state-produced school report cards, and the data analysts on our team, as we started looking at it, there were some things that their data comparisons didn't seem to match with the data that we had on our schools. So we put some information together, and he championed that cause yet again to have them reevaluate how they're evaluating our schools in the eyes of the public. So.
Board members, I think, first of all, thanks to the team, incredible work, and Sanjay and Neil have really been a pleasure to work with. But I think it was a really good idea this board had to let our public really know about our schools. And if you remember how we started this, we really were just kind of brainstorming what people ask us who are thinking about moving here. So it's taken quite a while to get to this point. And as Kelly mentioned, throughout this year now, we're going to really define what we think middle school and elementary parents want to know. High school, there's a lot of data. It's a little bit different at elementary, middle, but I think elementary and middle school parents have different concerns and needs. So I'm real excited about where it is, and certainly I sent them all to you. If you have any last-minute tweaking or input, we're still open to that. This is really an open-ended project, and I'm sure next year's version will look different from this year's and so on, but I think it was a good idea. And as Ms. Lockhart said, I feel like we are trying to accurately portray our schools, being very transparent. And thanks to our assessment and accountability department, when we look at what DOE put out, it's really not good comparative data because they're looking at the entire average compared to individual grade. It should be grade to grade, not grade to total and so on. So I'm just very excited. But I'll tell you, that's already out there. We haven't heard a whole lot about it, but we will market the heck out of our high school snapshot so everybody can see it, and I think our parents will appreciate it. Plus, I think we'll get some feedback.
Board member comments, committee updates, Mrs.
Okay. I served on the RFP for yearbooks and photography. We're moving forward to do interviews with 7 companies. It was very interesting because elementary, middle, and high are so unique to what they would like to have, but we wanted to give them a good choice. Casbury Chamber had a meeting last month, and they featured different nonprofits, Christian Help, Herzing University, Supervisor of Elections, and the Casbury Rotary, as well as Feeding Children Everywhere. Subsequently, they pulled a group together from the community to do an event at Feeding Children Everywhere, and it was a great evening. Oviedo Winter Springs Chamber, the education panel with SCPS, Seminole County, Seminole State College, and UCF, and we were there for that. I think everyone's going to comment on the shelters and how wonderful that was. I'll leave that mostly to you. Seminole County Human Trafficking Task Force. Northland Church has a new initiative. It's called 121 Hope. In the background, they have law enforcement, and they have a huge effort to help the victims in our community. And Dr. Walsh we had a conversation following that meeting. The task force felt like the education component was not in the forefront when they bring these children into Kids House for assessments. So thank you, Dr. Walsh. She's going to have someone check that out for us. And I think the last one I'll do is Regional Chamber did their business awards, and one of the honorees was School Partnerships, and that's Nancy Homan, and they do our elementary planners, so kudos to them. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Mrs. Sanchez.
All right. First of all of us have been extremely busy, and everybody out there in the community, thank you so much for all your help and support, getting everybody to the shelters or being at the shelters and preparing everything. So we truly appreciate everyone. A lot of us were at a lot of things, so it's pretty much, I'm going to let you do your share of what everything that we did, but I'm just going to go ahead and do my basic committees. Cal, no, we're actually back in session. We're going to be meeting next week, and our guest speaker will be Dr. Griffin, Wednesday, October 4th, and that will be here. So if anybody wants to join us, please join us here. Actually, we start serving food at 5:30, so we'll have a light meal, and then our leaders from the community and all the cities will be here, and Dr. Griffin will be the first one to speak, so then you can scoot on out after that. Ladies of 327 Supper Club, they've been working their tails off and helping feeding one family at a time. And I had an opportunity this weekend to go to the Bras for Charity event, and our very own Gail McQueen won the huge prize of $1,300 worth of gifts. So that was really exciting. And they raised over $3,000 for a family, a mother who is a single mom for breast cancer, and she can use it whatever way she'd like. So that was a really nice gesture. Lake Brantley High School, along with so many other high schools and other schools, community charities, everybody is putting together to help with the shelters, our pantries, and now helping families in Puerto Rico. And we're doing some things here. We're collecting food here and non-perishables. And if anybody wants to donate clothes, they can donate that to the Christian Sharing Center. And they're allowing families to go in there for free that are in need to get clothes. So they have opened up that, but right now they're saying they don't need so much clothes for Puerto Rico, but non-perishables is what they really need. And of course, lanterns, flashlights, and all the different things like that. We have lists and boxes all in this building and at school locations. The School Health Advisory Committee, we met last week on that, and we're discussing the vaccines and the flu day with the flu shots, and that's coming about. Also, dental sealant and understanding why we need to seal our teeth and making sure the educational programs are in place. And then our next meeting for the Health Advisory Committee won't be until November, so we're going to skip October. And UNISERV and SEA did a wonderful community dinner, but I know there was a ton of others that were going on at the same time. I just happened to be at that one, and everybody else was at different ones. And then Arts Alive, this is my last one. Arts Alive, of course, we extended the due date for the applications to be October 6th, I believe it is. And then auditions will start October 10th and 11th. Am I right on that, Davia? Not sure. Yes, you're right. You know what? They changed it. 11th and 12th is what I have. I think it was a typo in here. I'll have to double check on the website. Dress rehearsal, of course, at November 10th, and the event is November 11th. We still have a lot of tickets to sell. We need a lot of sponsors. Anybody that knows anybody or businesses that would like to sponsor or would like to get tickets, we have the links on the foundation website. Please go to that. Or if you know anybody that wants to donate to Arts Alive so we can provide for our wonderful art programs at our schools, please contact Susan or Davia or anybody up there or any committee member. And other than that, in Take Stock in Children, we had a meeting, and we'll have our next function in November. And I had a wonderful time at the Legislative Leadership Conference. That was really informative. Also wanted to do a shout out to Families in Need and Dr. Walsh and all your wonderful crew that work underneath you, Amy Elwood Tanisha, Ms. Moore, all of them are amazing, and they've helped tremendously get a lot of food to a lot of families that need it and a lot of clothing, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Dr. Calderon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All of my committees that I represent the board on were canceled due to the hurricane, so I don't have that side of the business to report on. But I just want to echo the sentiments of everyone this evening of how proud we are of our Seminole County family, whether they left their families to work a shelter, whether they came in to cook the phenomenal meals, better than what I had at home during the hurricane, but entertained the children, made our guests feel welcome, and the schools are impeccable, clean. Our staff couldn't have worked faster, so we're so very, very proud of them. But the community came together as well. We put out one little all-call for food for our families in need, and I know all of us spent the entire week picking up food and delivering to those in need, and I think it really showed the great community that we live in. One specific instance was Jackson Heights Middle School. They were collecting cereal boxes the week before the hurricane descent to Texas, and they decided not to send them to Texas, and they used it for their own community, and even with our principal holding a sign on the street corner just welcoming anybody from the community in for a free breakfast and letting them take boxes of cereal home. It was very, very appreciated from those community members. Dr. Griffin, you did a great job representing us with our legislative delegation, sharing what our legislative asks will be for this year. Again, coming back to ask for less testing and more teaching, and also looking forward to our aviation program. So I know as a community we can stand behind that. And this weekend, many of us attended our Christians in Public Education annual breakfast, and it was just a great fellowship for many of our educators to come together, to know that we work together as a family, more than just in Seminole County Public Schools. And yesterday, and Ms. Almond, you attended as well, but the Seminole Economic Development Education Network, where we had two presentations of two companies here in Seminole County that I didn't even know existed. And one was just so exciting to know that it was started by a Seminole County Public School student when he was a DECA student at 16 years of age. And almost 30 years later, he now has a multi-million-dollar company right here in Seminole County, and we'll be looking for employees and internships, and just the future partnerships, I think, will blossom. And I think it's so very important that we have these kind of meetings to listen to what the business people are looking for in their future workforce. It was interesting this time, there were representatives from Daytona Beach State College and Stetson and Seminole State and UCF, and they were trying to listen, but many of the skill sets that were really needed by these companies locally, I think we could accomplish even with a high school degree in our certifications. So that's kind of exciting to know what the future holds for our students if they choose not to go the higher ed path. So I look forward to those future partnerships. And just to reiterate what Ms. Sanchez said, our world language program employees have all gotten together and are asking our community to come together, not for Irma this time, but for Hurricane Maria. We have many relatives of many of our own employees and many of our own families here in Seminole County that need so much in Puerto Rico. So if you can donate any non-perishable items, you can do so here in our Educational Support Center and many other locations. We'll be Facebooking it out tonight, I'm sure, but there will be shipments going this Saturday afternoon, correct, Ms. Cardona? So we are a family larger than just the county of Seminole County. We have friends and relatives that are in other locations as well, so I'm looking forward to that partnership. Thank you.
We had an opportunity during our open discussion. I shared some of the things to keep you up to date on foundation items, but I will just, for the sake of everyone else, just mention that at this upcoming foundation board meeting, they will be voting on the relationship with the Gift for Teaching and the strategic plan that was in our book for information will also be voted on by the foundation board at the meeting on Friday. Some of the comments that were, I think Mrs. Sanchez, you already covered quite a few of them related to the foundation and Arts Alive. and talking about donating to families in need. If you are someone who doesn't really have time to go into a store or donate actual physical items, you can go online to the foundation's website, foundationscps.org, and donate to the Families in Need Fund. Make sure that you click the Families in Need drop down, and all of those donations will go to our families that are in need. It's aptly named. We were invited, I think everyone was invited to attend an item from an event with the Coalition for Homelessness. Yes, and I serve on that family committee, and Shelley Lawton asked if I would be willing to serve on a reactor panel and for that event. Apparently, J.P. Morgan Chase has donated some money that provided for a study that focused on the relationship between children's achievement levels in school and their stability of housing. What's the correlation? And I kind of said, well, I think we probably could have saved you some money. I got some people that could probably tell you there's a correlation. So it'll be interesting to see how I react, apparently. They're going to be presenting the full study at that event, and so that should be interesting. I want to give a special shout out to some of our Girl Scouts here in Seminole County who really stepped up to the plate helping out with Hurricane Irma. I live in a very unique, eclectic, older neighborhood in Sanford. We have above ground power lines and lots of big old trees, and a lot of elderly women who are on their own who needed a lot of help. And Polly DeLucia and her Girl Scouts stepped up to the plate and said, we will come and do what needs to be done. And they helped 4 or 5 different widows clean up their property. And I'm truly grateful. Thank you very much. Not to say, the Boy Scouts didn't do their part too, but the Girl Scouts really stepped it up. Also had some students from Lake Mary High School from the cross-country team that came out to help clean up as well. And I think that was something that every single one of us has noticed through this event, even though Irma was not fun in any way, shape, or form in the aftermath. But what an opportunity for our students to see a community rallying around and helping people who need it most. And so if anything good came out of it, I think that was fantastic to see. The other thing that I want to share, talking about notes disappearing. It's probably right here staring at me. Whatever it is, I'll remember it next time. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, board members, I want to thank you, and Sue Carson's here, and Mr. Carnes and Mr. Russi. Thank you for supporting our employees. This was a tough decision, working on the calendar, but I think we talk all about relationships. At the end of the day, our folks work very, very hard for us, and I sincerely appreciate your vote of confidence in the calendar revisions this evening.
Thank you. You reminded me. Michael Lawrence and his communication team.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're amazing.
Where did he go? we wore him
He's
out.
probably putting the pictures on Flickr.
He might be. Yeah. I had folks on my Facebook page who have children in schools in surrounding counties, and they started commenting about how great the information was being pushed out from Seminole County. And of course, we're kind of a competitive group, so anytime we hear we're doing something better than a surrounding county, we like that. But I just want to give a huge shout out to Michael Lawrence and his team, because I think they were on top of it like nobody's business. And the one thing that I learned more than anything, I think, through the communication piece of Irma, is parents don't even really care what the answer is as much as they just want to know the answer so I can plan appropriately. And we heard that loud and clear. Just make the decision and let us know so we can get on with our lives. And so that was great. So thank you, Michael, wherever you are.
One more comment. So when we visited schools today, a teacher said, "Oh, I know who you are. I recognize your voice, Dr. Griffin. And my husband knows your voice, too, from the hurricane."
It's us again.
People were stopping and saying, "Oh, I got to take this call. It's Walt Griffin calling me."
All right. If there's no other business to come before the board, we'll adjourn at 6:45.